There are times in life when you should be bullish, and there are times in life when you should be bearish. And then there are times where you simply have to cover yourself in lotion, turn off the lights, and accept that you're about to be extremely rich. So if you realize it's time to go big or time to go even bigger, hit that like and subscribe. Get signed up with Femex Blow if you want to buy Bitcoin, altcoins, or trade. Without any further ado, what is going on right now where we see Bitcoin potentially on the verge, just at the time of recording this, basically at all-time highs? Well, this is massive, and there's 10 other things that are massive today. But to be honest, the price should be way higher, and I'm sure it will be very, very, very soon. The FOMO on Wall Street is about to get real. So one thing that is guaranteed, whether you're bullish on Bitcoin, whether you're bearish on it, it makes no difference whatsoever. If you like Bitcoin, if you hate it, one thing that everybody on the planet can agree with is that if billionaires, if hedge fund managers, if institutions can make a lot of money and they have a product that makes them a lot of money, there is one thing in the world that will never not be true. And what that is that they will keep pushing that thing that makes them a lot of money. They will double down, triple down, quadruple down on whatever it is that's making them a lot of money. And as we see here, BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF drives more revenue than its entire S&P 500 fund. It has generated more revenue than its core S&P 500 ETF with an estimated nearly $200 million in annual fees. iBit has seen a torrent of cash. So basically, all of this to say is that this product is not only successful, and we've been gauging this since it launched about a year and a half ago, it is quite literally the most profitable ETF that has ever launched in history. By far, it's not even close. That's objectively true. This is not an opinion, right? A lot of people get especially now in 2025, a lot of people confuse their opinions with objective reality. And the objective reality here is that this is by far the most successful ETF that's ever launched. Now, how is that going to translate into you, a Bitcoin or crypto investor, making a lot of money? Well, we're going to get into that, but many of you probably already know, but as well, crypto total value locked hits a record $365 billion, signaling real adoption and capital inflow. This is measuring the actual value that is locked in this ecosystem at an all-time high. And again, this is data. This isn't something you can have an opinion on, right? If for example, we could use this because we live in 2025. It's kind of a crazy time, and a lot of people think that their opinions are as real as reality. And that's simply not true. There's probably some people watching this video, probably a small percent, but there might be some people here that, if I told them that you need air to breathe, they would try to prove me wrong and say, well, actually, technically you don't need it. And they, of course they would start breathing again because if they didn't, they would die. But that is where we're at as a society, is that people are very, very, delusional is the nicest way of saying it, but I'm going off on a little bit of a rant here. However, it's objectively true that this is the most successful product that has ever launched. And if you think that these billionaires and these hedge fund managers that are getting, amazing feedback and quite literally seeing the disruption that this is causing, if you think they're going to stop trying to get this industry to grow even more, you're out of your mind, right? The train it's run away. The brakes are broken. There are no brakes left. This train is going downhill and it's only accelerating. And I really think that the brakes kind of stopped working probably right at the beginning of 2024 when these Bitcoin ETFs were launched. That was the beginning of a fundamental change. And that fundamental change is that fundamentally we are objectively snowballing into gains and a period that simply did not exist for this ecosystem prior to pre-2024. We also see that funding rates are negative. Bitcoin is at all-time highs, basically, and funding rates are negative. Open interest is going up and bears are adding onto their shorts. This is exactly how short squeezes happen. This is exactly how you get pushed to new all-time highs again and again and again. This is exactly the type of environment you want and you need for this market to actually be ultra bullish, eye-glazingly, bone-numbingly bullish. You need people to just be very bearish on the market. And for some reason, so many people are. And again, this is not an opinion. Objectively, funding rates are negative. Open interest is going up. What does this mean? It means there's a lot of people betting that Bitcoin is about to go down. And if it doesn't, and in fact it goes up, those people get squeezed out of their positions, and it pushes the price even higher. This is, very big. We see today's SEC chair, Paul Atkins, saying tokenization is an innovation, and at the SEC, we should be focused on how we do advance innovation in the marketplace. A massive difference from just a year or two ago. We have an SEC that is not actively trying to lobby for banks and destroy a growing industry, but instead trying to embrace it. And it is absolutely, by far, something we have never witnessed. We have always had a malevolent SEC, a vindictive, a hateful SEC that does not want growth in any industry. They just want to keep the money going to the same banks and the same few people that it always has. Now we have an SEC that is, nothing is perfect, right? I'm not saying we have a perfect environment, but this is quite literally the closest to a perfect environment we could have, to be honest. It really couldn't get much better than what we're seeing right now. We also see a Solana ETF with staking is live. First spot Solana staking ETF live, healthy start to a trading with an ETF about 8 million in the first 20 minutes. Again, not even a fraction of what Bitcoin has been doing. But again, I think that this whole industry is about to open up in general a little bit more as regulation and policy starts to shift. We see as well Jerome Powell. We're seeing, my personal opinion is I think Jerome Powell should either step down or stop being so whiny. He's being a little bit of a child. I mean, look across the world and look at what other countries are doing. They started lowering rates months and months and months ago. And he's being stubborn. And again, if you're asking why hasn't the market really started pumping? The S&P just hit a new all-time high recently in the last 48 hours. Bitcoin is about to it's right at a new all-time high. But if you're asking why are we not absolutely mooning, one of the biggest reasons too is that the Fed is not cutting rates and they're trying to hold this policy in a very restrictive stance, even though a lot of data has shown that this doesn't need to be the case. So we're seeing now Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's William J. Pult issuing a following statement. I'm asking Congress to investigate Chairman Powell for his political bias and deceptive Senate testimony, which is more than enough to be removed for cause. His $2.5 billion building renovation scandal stinks to high heaven. And he's lied about when asked about specifics before Congress. It is malfeasance and worthy of for cause. Senator Loomis as well said that Chairman Powell made a lot of factually inaccurate statements to the committee against the Fed's plush private dining room and elevator skylights, water features, roof terrace, and typical of mismanagement. Don't bother me. He's very clearly compromised in some sense, or at least just awful at what he's doing. Keep in mind, this is the same guy who did miss inflation when it started ramping up a couple of years ago. He was very late to that. Somebody new, more than necessary at this point. We also see new Bitcoin all-time highs are very likely close. We see this descending channel. Nothing could be more clear to me. Writing has been on the wall for months. We also see the global M2 money supply versus Bitcoin. The M2 has not stopped moving up. M2 still supports Bitcoin moving up. The inverse head and shoulder also supports this. A bull flag supports it, and a bull pennant. All of these patterns supporting very likely the next move is up. Now, again, I think a lot of people are aware of technical analysis now. When I started making videos 8 years ago, a lot of people were saying, oh, what do these squiggly lines mean? Believe me, there's a lot of people that still think technical analysis is not supposed to tell you exactly what's going to happen. It's a little tool that can be used to, if it can help you, guess the direction of a market by 1% or 2%, those are the margins you should be looking at to say, okay, well, I'm going to use that, right? Even though 1 or 2% increased chance of something being correct is not a huge percent, it can mean everything, right? The tiniest little advantage can sometimes be a massive advantage when you're talking about everybody that's participating in these global markets. So when all of these technicals are lining up, when we see fundamentals as well, like the M2 that's been moving up, right? That's fundamental data, and then we see technical data as well, and you combine all of them, and they're all painting the same picture. Then, if you would do that right now, which I'm doing and many of you are, then you should be bullish. That's the only outcome that really is showing up right now. As well, how long until Elon Musk realizes the only way to fix the government debt is to embrace a Bitcoin standard? Well, maybe he has realized it, maybe he hasn't. I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on Elon. I feel like most people either really like him or really hate him. I don't really put that much time and energy into a lot of people that I don't know, right? I don't know Elon Musk. There's a lot of people I don't know on the internet, right? And I very rarely put a lot of energy into them. And I think that's actually, if anything, side note, I think that's a really good advice for anybody watching, is that if you're watching somebody like me, for example, or anyone you're watching or tweeting or anything, we don't know each other. Nobody really knows each other. So don't spend like too much energy, too much time. Like, I'm not going to like get really upset about everything Elon does. I don't know the guy, right? I disagree with some of the stuff he's done. I agree with some of the stuff he's done. Same thing for Democrats and Republicans. I disagree with a lot of Democrats. I disagree with a lot of Republicans. I agree with some of the Republican things. I agree with some of the Democrat things. Point is, there's so many nuances in life. And actually, if you're one of those people that's like, because there are a lot of those people, if you're one of those people, and I've made this mistake in the past as well. I'm not saying that I have never done this, but if you're one of those people that decides that one side is absolutely evil and one side is absolutely good, I got news for you. You're a little biased and you're wrong. That's not how life works. In most circumstances, there are a very select few, right, circumstances where sometimes, maybe things are kind of bad. We also see, is this breakout for real? Well, we look and we see the trend of Bitcoin over these past many, many months. I think this could be the beginning of a real breakout trend. We see as well, Bitcoin is consolidating at all-time highs for several weeks, and the implied volume is approaching all-time lows. Probably not a bad time to express directional views through longer dated calls and puts. He's saying not financial advice, but he's saying probably this could be very bust-worthy in a roundabout way. That's him. This is the closest Will on X will get to saying he's bullish. He'll never maybe he will sometimes say he's bullish, but he's trying to dance around a little bit, but he's basically saying in a very straightforward way, he's bullish. And also, Ripple applies for a U.S. banking license. I'm not a huge fan of Ripple, but we're just seeing continued adoption, and whether you like it or not, that's the point. It's going to happen, and it is happening. It's not really an opinion thing. It doesn't really matter what your opinions on some of this stuff is. Some of it is just objectively what's happening. I mean, the daily chart for Bitcoin looks good. The weekly, fantastic, has looked fantastic for many, many weeks now, probably since the very beginning of April, to be honest, when we bottomed at the very beginning of April. The M2 is still exploding, and Bitcoin's price will reflect this over time. The S&P just hit a new all-time high this week. It is at an all-time high right now, I believe. Yeah, it's at an all-time high. The dollar looks disgusting, which is good for risk on assets. And overall, I'm extremely bullish. But get signed up with Femix below if you want to buy Bitcoin altcoins or trade. Without any further ado, it's free.